Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the live conversation series with UiPath Aspirant. In the previous video of the live conversation, we have seen how exactly a team structure looks like in RPA, what are the different roles available, and we talk about the different roles, what are the various roles and responsibility of the different roles in robotics process automation. In case you haven't already watched that video, I'll put the link in the description and you can refer that to know more about what exactly we discussed. So this is just an highlight. We have discussed how exactly can I build a robotic operating team, what are the different teams which are getting involved when you set up a robotic project. Apart from that, we have also discussed that what are the typical project team structure, that how the project management works, how where are the business analysts located, how a senior dev is located, how the development and the solution architect and the business analyst are working together. So all of this was covered in the part 1 of this discussion. I have already provided the link in the description and you can refer that. In case you have already watched that, let me go and show you the agenda for this video. We are going to start today by answering some of the general RPA queries which the aspirant is having, such as does every developer has a separate orchestrator, okay, and various other questions. After that, we are going to deep dive into what is the RPA life cycle. When I say the RPA life cycle, that means what are the various stages from a RPA point of view, right from the requirement gathering to the production deployment to the hypercare and to the support. What are the various life cycles? And when we say the stages, what all teams are involved in what all stages. So in case you are new to the RPA field and you want to know how exactly the RPA life cycle look like, you can refer this video and that should answer most of your queries. In case this video is not able to answer your queries, you can always drop me your comments or your queries in the comment box or my mail ID. I'll try to revert them. And in case you also want to have such live conversation with me in any of the RPA related topics, we can plan a session. You can drop me a note on the email ID mentioned and we can take it forward. Having said that, let's get started. So should we move to the next part now?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
orchestrator, you said orchestrator.
yeah.
See, for everyone, every developer have their own orchestrator or
No, no,
their
no,
common
no.
login.
No. So how it is looking like? So let me just go and show you my orchestrator. Okay. So orchestrator is
Hmm.
nothing but basically a web utility which is provided by UiPath. Okay. So
Your
in
one.
in a company you would have three orchestrator. Okay.
Okay.
One would be for
Okay.
the dev, one would for the NFT, and one when I say NFT, I mean the testing server, and then
Testing sir.
one will have the production orchestrator. So three orchestrator. Okay,
Okay.
for three orchestrator, each and every developer will have a separate login. So for example, this is
Okay.
the orchestrator. As of now, I am logging with my ID, one ID. Okay.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
similarly, for separate developer, will have separate login to one orchestrator.
Okay. In a one orchestration, many credential.
Yeah. So as of now, if you will see, if I just log into this one, right? So this is nothing but one I have created, assuming that this is one company and the company is personal space, something. Okay. Now this is my dev orchestrator. So in this dev orchestrator, every developer will log in by his or her credential.
Yeah,
What?
understood. The orchestrator. We are
Okay.
going to execute all our. We are going to push up the all our created boards. And
Correct.
orchestrator will the middle is like orchestrator is one guy is sitting in middle and he is observing all the job, how the executing and
Right.
input and output.
Right. So this is where you schedule the unattended bots. So for example,
Yes.
you want to run a process 5 times for one client, 6 times for other client. So this is the place where you will create the schedule, manage, and everything will happen in orchestrator. So to answer your question, you will have one orchestrator where all the developers will log in by their credentials. Okay.
Okay.
And they will
Okay.
have
And
separate. Yeah. Yeah.
finally, it will reach to the one final orchestra, right?
So what happens is, so for example, this is my dev orchestrator. Okay, so now
Okay.
I will
Okay.
the developer will test the bot, everything in the dev orchestrator. He is done.
Mm.
Now what we have to do, we have to push the process to the NFT orchestrator, right, at
Okay.
the
NFT. Okay. Okay.
testing orchestrator. So what do you
Mm.
feel, should a developer have right to the NFT orchestrator, yes or no?
No.
No, right? So what we will do
Yes.
is we will go to the packages. Okay. So I have all this, assuming that we are working for this process, append, point manager or something, any of the process. So now I want to push this packet to the NFT. So as a developer, what I will do, I will go here and I will uh, go to, let's say, which version I want to go, and I will simply go here and download the package. Okay. So
Okay.
once I click on download the package, it downloads a nugget packet for me, NUPKG,
Okay.
right?
Nugget.
Now I will give this nugget to the NFT manager along with the different details, which we'll discuss now. And I will tell the manager of the NFT that, sir, I have this nugget. Why don't you upload this to the testing team? So every nugget has a version number. So every nugget will have a version number, let's say version
Version number.
1.0.2, right? So that way you
Okay.
can track. Okay. So that is
Okay.
how. And the same concept, once it is done from the NFT, you will download the nugget and give it to for the production. Right. So let me just tell you how exactly process starts and where exactly the role comes in picture. Okay. This might not be the exact one, but you will get an idea. Okay. So the first thing, whenever a process start, right? So the program managers, now we'll just talk by this diagram. Okay. So we have got a process. Somebody tells me that, okay, Mukesh, you have to automate this process, right? So first of all, somebody will be there who will assess that project, whether that process is automable or not, whether we should automate or not, right? You cannot automate everything. So for example,
Yes,
if there is a process which is expecting change in next month, so the client
yes,
says that, okay, today we are in version 2.0, next month we are moving to version 4.0. So it is not a
yes,
good process to automate because it will change, right? So first we decide that whether the process we have to take is automate or not, right? So we have to decide whether it is automate or not. So let's say you decide and you say, okay, then this process is there, yes, we can automate it. Okay. Now when you say
okay,
yes, we can automate it, then what would be the happen? The next step will be, okay, then the next step will be the business analyst will come in picture. Okay. The business analyst or the program manager or the solution architect, right? They will go and see that what are the things that can be automated, right? So we will ask for a document which is called a keystroke.
keystroke. Okay.
Okay, so keystroke document is, do you understand keystroke? It is the step-by-step document which the client is performing. So for example,
Perfect.
if I ask you how do we save a file? So the client says, okay, I go, I click on file, and I then click on save button, right? So the keystroke document will have each and every step documented with screenshot. Keystroke means whatever keys are
Keystroke means
business. Now,
yeah, how the customer want to process that which is process level. Like
how,
you said, no,
uh,
you want to download from one
hmm,
data from one
hmm,
website. You want to save it from one folder. That is
right.
a
Hmm.
daily routine project job
uh,
that I need to automate.
how they
Right?
are
No?
doing it manually, how they are doing it on the daily basis, right? So
Yes.
everything they will document, right? So once the keystroke is available, now the next thing is we will create a PDD out of the keystroke. Okay. So the PDD
PDD.
is called the process design document,
Process design document. Yes.
right? So we create a document which is called the process design document. This will have the details such as that what are the softwares also. If you'll just google for what is the structure of the PDD. Let me, if I am having some PDD.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so this was way before when UiPath was working, right? So this is a kind of PDD document. Okay, so the PDD
Okay.
document will have these details like what is the purpose of the document? Okay, who is the process SME? Who is the process reviewer? Then it will have that what are the minimum software versions which are required to run the process? How many employees are doing the process? Then the important thing, it will have something called the as is, that means a diagram that how the business is doing that process today, right? Then some additional details about the processes, that recording is available, what are the SOPs, then what is in scope of RPA and what is out scope of RPA. For example, if you have to do something which is not in RPA scope of RPA, for example, approving a offer letter, for example. So
Yes.
you are writing a process and you want to send an offer letter to the candidate. So the final thing that, okay, we have to give a package of 20 lakhs, we have to give a package of 40 lakhs, right? There should be someone who intervenes, right? So that
Mm,
intervention,
mm.
sometimes everything is not in scope of RPA, so you just say out of scope, so you will specify all those details here. That again depends on the kind of process, right? Then what are the approvals, so all these details would be a part of the process design document. Okay.
In scope and out scope, developer RPA developer has to decide.
RPA developer, so basically say for example, it will be a decision of the solution architect. Okay, that what is the, so
Mm,
solution
mm,
architect is the guy who understands the infrastructure, who understands. So for example, if you get a process, that process requires
mm,
document understanding, and your
mm.
company orchestrator is not capable of document understanding, you are still working at 2018, but you require
Okay,
something which is on the latest version, so that is not capable of, right? So that
I
decision
see.
will be taken by the uh, a program manager, the solution architect, and with the help of definitely the developer, right? So you can intervene there. So process design
Okay,
document would be created. This process design document will be then sent to the business to for a sign off, that okay, see whether we have created everything, whether everything is documented well or not, right? So now once the
mm,
process design document is created and sign off, the next what will be doing, we will be creating a solution design document, and this will be created with the help of the developer and the solution architect. That now this will
I see.
include that
Yeah,
what huh, what would be the approach of the design. This would be more a
yeah,
technical,
technically.
right? That we are going to
Mm,
implement the robotics enterprise framework, we would break down this process into a flow chart. We are going to use the outlook, we will go by this process, we will use all those technical details will be available in the part of solution design document. Okay, now once the solution design document is available, now the next part will come where you code the process, and this would be done by the developers, right? Developers and the senior developers. So you code the process. Now once the coding and everything you do, as after the coding you will write unit test cases, right? So unit test cases are
mm.
where you just check whether the code is working as per the unit test cases is written by the dev. That ensures that okay, the developer has tested it for certain set of, for example, if you are writing a automation for number addition 1 plus 2, right? So you will test the
Mm,
code for -1 plus -2, 0 plus 2, 2 plus 0, a plus b. So all of this kind of testing will be known as unit test cases. Okay, so the developer will write the code. Once he have done everything, now he would ask that okay, now once the developer is completed the code, it will be pushed to the dev orchestrator. Okay, it will be pushed to the
okay.
dev orchestrator
Unit
now.
test case
Yeah,
where you need to do unit test case where you need to by running the debug and running that only, right?
right. So running in debug and then checking for the different scenarios, that
Yes,
whether
that
it is
only,
break.
right?
Yeah, yeah, correct, unit test casing. So you can run it on debug,
Okay,
or basically the best part, the best thing is you should always do it from the orchestrator. Once the coding is completed, you should not do the testing from studio is for debugging and all,
yes.
that is okay, but if you are
Mm,
working on the end to end, then you will do it from the dev orchestrator. Okay, now
yep.
your code
Okay,
is completed, you have done everything. Now there is something which is called a code review will happen, right? Now the next phase will be whatever you have code, it will be you will be having a code review, right? So whether you are using the proper naming standard, variables are proper or not proper, whether you have infinite loops and all those things, code review will happen, right? So this code review will be again happening by a senior dev or by the solution architect or by the manager. Anyone can do a code review, or you can have a peer code review also, that you check my code and I check your code. Okay, so
okay,
code review is there, then we have you work on the code review. The final piece is then final. Once the code review is done, then the final process is now available in the dev orchestrator. Okay, developer part is done now. Okay, now what will happen,
done.
the developer will have to push the nugget to the NFT server. When I say NFT, to the testing server, right?
Testing
So
server.
this will be done, who will do this, will be done by the testing manager or the whoever the test lead, right? Now you can tell this guy to pull the orchestrator, to pull the nugget from the dev orchestrator also, or they can directly automate it, or directly get it from the dev orchestrator, from the shared drive, anywhere, right? So now your nugget is now available in NFT. So in what happens in the testing server, in the NFT, the testing team will test the code. they will come up with defects, right? Defect 1, defect 2, defect 3. So based on the priority and all, these defects would be assigned back to the developers, right? So
Okay.
develop testing will be done. So this is the basic software cycle, right? So it will go back testing. So once the testing is done, we will have something called a testing sign off, right? So we
Okay.
will require a sign off from the testing, that okay, the testing is completed and we have got the testing sign off. Now once you have the testing sign off, the next phase is you will push it to something called UAT. Okay, UAT is called the user acceptance testing. Okay, so what would happen, sometime it is called the parallel run also. Okay, okay, sorry, before testing. So sometimes the testing and the UAT server are both same, sometimes they are different. Okay, so what happens in the UAT, we will send the code to the some of the samples to the business, and we will say that can you check whether everything looks good or not. Okay, so the business here you will have involvement of the business. Okay,
Okay.
here
Yes.
what will happen, the business will test the process and they will just validate the output. And if they feel that
Okay.
okay, this thing is right or this thing is not wrong, anything change, then it will again follow the same process. Okay, now once the
Reversible.
reversible, right? Now once the UAT sign of the business says that okay, the input output which you are sending is perfect for me, we will get a UAT sign off from the business, and we say that okay, now this process is ready to go in the production. Okay, now
Okay.
to move into the production, what we will do is we will just the same concept, right? Nugget from dev to orchestrator, the same nugget will be now moved to production. Okay,
Production. Okay.
in production now, what will happen in the production, the process will run, it will run based on the schedule. So some, if it is unattended, if we will just schedule it, so it will run from production, right? So now,
Hmm.
so what do you think, what should happen, should we directly tell the business that you stop doing your manual process? Okay, so
No,
now,
through
yeah,
orchestrator only. We have to set in all the schedule wise.
right, so schedule wise. So assuming that the business is, so why do we automate, right? So there was a requirement where the business was doing
Yes.
something manually, and now we have automated that, right? But to switch, now the business has to switch from manual to the automated one, right? So they cannot tell, we cannot tell them okay, we are in live from 1st of May, so from 1st of May you just stop your process, we can't do that, right? So after the production there is something called hypercare. Okay,
Okay.
there is a phase which is called hypercare. What happens in the hypercare, the the bot will run in parallel to the business execution. So business will be keep doing his daily manual work, and in parallel the bot will also run, right? At the end of the day they will validate whether both the output are same or not, whether what the bot was expected to do is happening or not. Now the hypercare may last for some different, so if it is a daily process you can have hypercare for 1 week, 2 weeks, but if it is a weekly process then you would have to wait long, right? So that depends when the business gets comfortable. Once the hypercare is completed, that means the bot and the business both are getting the same result, then slowly the business switch off the manual process and they rely completely on the bot output. Okay,
Okay.
right? So
It
now
goes to
once,
production
huh,
live.
right, now when we then we say that the process is actually live in production, and now the business is doing not doing that process. But during hypercare what happens, the business do the process parallel to the bot. So what happens, that they are having something where they can just compare the output and see, and if everything's okay then they say that okay, now we are good, we are switching off the manual process and the bot will run. Now when the bot is running successfully, hypercare is then, now this bot will move to the support team, right? So the support team will take care of all the requests which are coming in production, like the L1 support. So there are different level of support, right? L1, L2, L3. So if there is something which is a quick thing, like re-trigger the process from orchestrator, or change of the assets, change in the setting, that the support team can handle, right? So all this handle with all these teams, all those requests will be handled by the support team. But there, if there is something which is coming, which the L3 support, which is basically L3, that means there is a technical change, then this process will again come to the development, right? and then the development will pitch in, and then they will follow the same sprint of getting the code review. A different version will be pushed to the orchestrator. So this is how the typical things and the typical places where the different teams are involved. And
See,
one more,
every time it's
yeah,
getting changed.
every time which one?
Every time it's getting changed. Every
Which,
time it's getting a change of version. Again, we need to again we need to push up into orchestrator.
no, no. So whenever we are having a change in the process, right? So how does
Hmm.
a what goes in orchestrator, right? So for example, if I have a process here, this is my UiPath studio, right? So I have made something change. So this process is working fine in production, right? So now the something has went wrong in the this flow. So what happens if anything you change, if you just publish it again, right? A new version is created, right? See, now what is the version? If you'll just wait, see the new version is 1.0.2, right? So when a new version is created, you have to push it nugget to the orchestrator. Now, let me tell you something, not everything has to be changed. So for that, there is a concept of configuration, right? So every process has something which is called a config file. When you read about RE framework, we have something called config file. Okay, so this config file will have the settings that you think might change in future. For example, today the business says that okay, if there are 5 emails, we want to run the process, but tomorrow the requirement says that now instead of 5 we want to have it for 10 emails. You don't want to come to the process and change everything, right? Rather what you will do, you will just come to the config file, change that value, and it will take it, right? So that is why maintaining of the configuration is more important. Okay, so I think that answers to your question that.
Yes. Config file and orchestrator is close to working together, right? Whatever we changing, it directly reflect into orchestrator.
Correct, correct. So config file is basically being referenced by the project. So if you understand robotics enterprise framework, RE framework, right? So this is this is how the project, this is my dummy project. So if you'll go, this is an robotics enterprise template, right? So whenever a robotics process automation start, the first thing it go and read that config file. See, initialize all settings, it is nothing but just reading of the configuration file. So if you'll just open the workflow, it will take every value from the configuration file. So when you deploy this thing to orchestrator, so this configuration file you can just change the value and this will start moving accordingly. For example, today you are using the
Here I
acme.
have one doubt.
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
In that, go to that studio.
Yeah, yeah.
Here we are going to give read range activities,
Uh-huh.
set and constant sheet.
Uh,
Uh, when just I morning I have worked with one project.
mhm,
Means I saw your video. There
mhm,
you are giving instruction of how the RE framework is going on. I tried this Acme website by using pull up the data.
uh-huh.
Okay. There it's asking the read range activity is not defined setting and constant name.
Mhm,
It's a, we fill the sheet, no? Sheet and range.
mhm, right.
Why it's like
So this one, right? So if you will
yes,
see,
sir.
they have specified it as an in argument here. So we'll go to the arguments, right? They are passing it as in arguments here. So this is coming from
Mm.
here. So if you will just go back in it all settings, right? So if you'll go to import arguments, so this is where they have specified the sheet names. Let it load. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sheet name. But
Okay.
then same. I did not did any changes. Just
Mhm.
I my this one sequence and I just drag and drop. Then it's asking say setting and constant sheet is not defect visibling like that.
I don't know. So do
I
you
did.
have the settings and config sheets available in the config? So it should be available in the
No, I
configuration file.
don't have the.
So that is why, right? So whenever,
Yes, it's available.
okay. So what happens is, so where this config is getting read from, right? So if you just go to your process, just check for this thing. Go to import argument, see from where you are taking the config file. Okay. So for me, it is available in the data and config, right? So in the data, and I have config, right? So this is the config. and in the config which sheet to read, I want to read to the settings and the constants, right? So just verify that one and that will work. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Then-
that is how. So now one thing, right? So I told you that we create the PDD and everything, right? So this PDD and this process is again automated by UiPath, which with the help of something which is called the task capture. Okay. So now as of now, if you will see, we have something tool and we have kind of utility which is provided by UiPath, which is called the automation hub and the task capture. Okay. So if you will just go here and
Yes.
search for task capture UiPath, see, this is the process discovery tool which is provided by UiPath. Okay. You can just use
Hmm.
this tool and it will create the PDD for you.
Okay.
So you don't have to go and take the screenshot and everything and then see what happens here. You just install this thing in some machine, you just perform it, and then it creates a PDD for you, and then at the last you can export it to a Word document and it creates a full PDD, and it will create a kind of structure for the coding also. So, and this
Oh,
closely works with automation hub. So whenever you have time, right, just explore this guy. This is
okay.
interesting.
Which is that a task capture, right?
Task capture,
Yeah,
yeah. UiPath
okay, I
task
will do.
capture. Yeah, UiPath task capture and read about automation hub also. So these are the
Okay.
new things. So it is not only related. So now UiPath is not only limited to automation. We are moving
Hmm.
to hyper automation also, right? So
Okay.
humans in the loops, action center,
Hmm.
chatbots, AI fabric, ML, lot and more things are
Hmm.
coming. So what we have explained, this is only automation, right? This is a pure automation. Now,
Yes.
when you go back, just read about hyper automation in UiPath. You will get to know more about the tool, more about the technology. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Does that
Yeah.
give you some insight? So was it helpful?
Yeah, really. Well,
Okay.
it's a very good things I understand, which is I'm not knowing, and it's
Okay.
helped me for more concentrate. Where which stage I need to concentrate and that and all.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Okay, so that was all for this video. I'll wrap this video here. I hope you like this video and I was able to some of your answer regarding the RPA lifecycle stages and the team involvement. In case you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel and happy automation.